All right. Yeah, no.
We should have just, continued. Yes.
Like you all were in here for the last panel, you know you just took your life in your hands kneeling down behind me. Right?
Keep in mind, just because you get to leave in 15 minutes, I don't.
Well, you're going to be unconscious because most of the oxygen in this room was replaced by shit air. Really quick, before we even get started, before we do introductions, a huge round of applause for AB for resending this room 100 times this weekend. Literally cannot do this stuff without them. Thank you, AB.
And for sanitizing the microphone. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, seriously, guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah, there is a concern with microphones being a vector for disease transmission because, let's face it, I've been spending an hour exhaling onto this thing. Some other guy's going to put it in his face. These things...
Well, that's a horrible example. With the amount that the three of us drink, there is no way that our exhale isn't sterile and on fire. I mean, basically, you can light most of us into a beautiful green bird.
We are not lighting anything in this room with that man here.
Okay, fair enough. Actually, no more open flames in the hotel. Tell the pilot light they need to come in for a landing.
Okay, here's the deal.
What?
We have a charity.
No, absolutely fuck no. I am putting the kibosh on that right now. I know it's not my con, but I'll fucking take the con over just to stop that from happening.
Does that meet the legal definition of
No.
Of course not.
extortion?
Of course
Yes,
not.
no, I mean, does it?
Oh my God.
Just out of curiosity, how many of you were here for the last panel?
No, the answer is no. Don't ask the question. The answer is no. Just go with the answer.
I had somebody walk up to me after the last panel, they looked at me, they said, Boozy, I want to thank you, that was a wonderful panel. However, I did not know I was going to be sitting in the splash, so...
I used to vacation in Door County quite a lot. We would go out there, we'd rent a house, and myself and a large handful of my friends would enjoy a long weekend in Door County, hanging out at the cabin for most of the day, going out to breakfast in the morning, seeing the sights, drinking the wine. Beautiful vacation. I love locations like that. But one night we realized that we had all, not one of us, not just me, we all packed far too much booze. And we don't want to take it home, so that night we went. That night got so out of hand that John the Human, who might actually be in this room, managed to lift me off of my feet, throw me into a wall where I hit a piece of artwork that then fell on me, to which Zanny turns around and goes, "Don't worry about it, I'm an artist," which we still don't know what it means. But we all felt very comforted. We partied like crazy that night, and the next morning, what happens? Your body wakes up, but your mind is a pickle, and we were hungover. To a person, we were hungover, and we went out to get breakfast. A nice little cafe, walking distance from where we were at. A single room cafe. There was a kitchen, there was the dining room, and there was the unisex bathroom located right over there with paper-thin walls. And we knew they were paper-thin walls because my friend, who does not drink a lot, who had not experienced a true hangover, while sitting perfectly quiet at the table, stood up and announced to the entire restaurant, "I need to use the restroom." Marched over there, closed the door, and to the restaurant's horror, they all heard, we were dying. My table is losing their minds. The table in the corner, the family, a family unit, possibly enjoying a vacation or possibly getting over a divorce. You don't know. Sitting there, trying to ignore the table in hysterics and the screams coming from the bathroom. As my other friend, who is now laughing so hard, clutching his side, going, "Oh no! It's happening again!" stands up and goes over to the door, because when you have an emergency, bystanders no longer matter. It's, "Let me in! Let me in!" And from the other side of the door, my buddy, "Let me out!" Okay, we need to fix this, because now the waitress has come out, who was not a part of any of this, and is just standing at the door to a kitchen with a giant tray of food watching this exchange. And the tray with the warm food that could have helped our hangover got noped out, and she just turns around and leaves. It was a good day. That was a good day.
I learned something about my longtime friend Alkali. That I have always maintained that this man is sufficiently professional as a drinker that he does not get into a state of no control. He came to my very classy, high-level, upper-crust sake tasting that I was holding in a suburb of Raleigh, North Carolina. His excuse was that he had flown out, had not had any food that day. I wound up having to carry him out of the establishment. Now, there is a difference in physical size. Okay, you know how the standard way of assisting a drunk is their arm over your shoulders like this? It didn't work so good.
Not really.
No, it was like both arms. It's like left foot, right, left, no, left foot, right foot, left, right. We're not making this up.
The poor woman behind the bar wanted to help so bad, but could not stop laughing as I'm giggling at this person trying to help my fat ass. She's like, "I don't mean to fall forward, but here we go." Like, "Ah, shit!" And then she's just dying, asking if I want another drink, which went over oh so well.
You know, the good thing is, and if you're not an experienced drinker, let me just tell you, a lot of times when you get that drunk, you can rest assured that absolutely no one is going to remember it, right? Except for you. Because I'm going to tell you, like a month after that, I went down to be on Kage's wine stream, and Kage took me out for coffee the next morning to the same restaurant that you'd had the sake tasting at, and introduced me, said, "This is my friend." They go, "Oh, what about the other guy?" And the person behind the counter, when they said, "Is the other guy okay?" got this look like he had just seen far too much.
I am a very boisterous drunk.
You are like the cryptid of the bar scene.
He is. It's like, oh, it's big glass.
I do like hearing, because we did that. We like last year we rented a house out on Lake Erie.
Yes, we did.
Us and a few of our friends rented a house out on Lake Erie, and it was a wonderful weekend. We were within sight of the lake, and on the first night, I was going to grill us steaks, and we spent, about 40 minutes trying to figure out how to turn the fucking gas on to the grill.
Yeah.
And we couldn't figure it out. We kept staring at the grill and turning the buttons and pressing the knobs, and
Throwing matches and just hoping.
and we're standing there, we're trying to figure it out, and then I forget who, but somebody came out and said, "Hey, you all can't figure out the grill, right?" We said, "Yeah." They go, "Have you looked at the big book that says read this first that's been sitting on the table inside that gives you very specific instructions on how to turn on the gas line to the grill?"
We're Americans. We don't need instructions. We just need guns. How to lift that thing right away.
RTFM, man.
RTFM. Oh my God.
You know, in the Westin in Pittsburgh, there's a sex tub up in the presidential suite. That's
Okay,
weird.
I want to explain. I'm nodding my head because I've seen the sex tub, not because I'm intimately familiar with the sex tub.
Yeah.
I just realized that look. He's like, in the West End, there's a sex tub. I'm going, yeah.
We call it the sex tub because it's the grand presidential suite. I think the parlor is the size of this room. And it's got a bathroom, which is the size of my condo. It has a giant jacuzzi tub that could probably sit 8 to 10 people. And it's completely surrounded on 3 sides and the ceiling with mirrors. That's why we call it the sex tub.
Fair enough.
But apparently, whoever designed it, there's like you have to turn a switch on and then push a button, then put the switch to half and then push another button which is underneath the thing here, and then you have to put the switch to like between on and off, and then you have to go. I was so frustrated with this thing because our guest of honor was Ursula Vernon at the time. And I very much wanted to impress my guest of honor. And I'm in there, and she wanted to know how the thing worked, and I'm trying to get in, and she said, "You've got to be a rocket scientist." I am a rocket scientist, I can't get it to work! So I called down to good old Jerry Williams, who, I don't know if I was actually thinking of what I was saying, but I called down to Jerry, he's the convention services manager. I said, "Jerry, this is Sam. I need somebody to come up here and show my guests how to operate the sex tub."
God damn.
Jerry came up himself.
That seems like a lot of work for all of 30 seconds of fun.
What do you mean 30 seconds of fun? It's at least 20 minutes. Dude, you should see a doctor.
About multiple things at this point. The small stage fire behind us that no one can see. Number 1.
What?
Or at Fursquared. It's been quite a journey to get to this point. I'm so glad that we are back to doing live conventions. This convention means so much to me. Well, thank you. I've had the pleasure of assisting at this convention for its entirety. And over the years, some really fun and interesting things have happened because what I do at conventions is kind of fill in the gaps. When I'm needed, I just go there, and sometimes it's as easy as, "Oh, Alkali, could you run your panel an hour earlier?" Of course, I can change my schedule. And sometimes it's, "We had somebody not show up for a panel, can you go run it?" Oh, all right, I do improv. I should be able to do this. So one time it was the fursuit maintenance panel. I'm like, I don't know how to maintain a fursuit, but I'm sure someone in the room would. So it became a Q&A panel, and I asked them, and they gave me the information, and the room said, "Yes, that is good information," and people learned things, and I was happy. So I thought, good, I have a way to run any panel. If I am ever shanghaied into running something I know nothing about, I will just ask questions. Close. I was told I need to go to a room in year 2 of Fursquared because my friend Furion, now Furion, one of the zookeepers at this very con, had nothing to do with this. There was a second fur named Furion, so we're all blaming one of our staff members for screwing this up all day. And we come later and it's like, "Dude, how could you do this?" Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So like, all right. I was slotted to run an Otherkin panel. I have never encountered the Otherkin side of the fandom. I did not know anything about it. I was excited because I'm going to learn, so I started asking questions. Now, I think all of us have experienced this. When the furry fandom, when the bronies, when anime fans, anything like that, you can put them in front of the camera, you can ask them questions, and 99 out of 100 of them are here to have fun. They're going to tell you what's going on. You're going to learn a little bit from it. You're going to have a good time. But there's always one. And the Otherkin panel had one, because I asked them, "What is an Otherkin?" And they explained to me this wonderful thing that they had found inside the furry fandom, this small niche group that cared about each other, and it seemed like this beautiful subset of the furry fandom that had found each other and found something they're all interested in, and I loved that. Until I got to the last gentleman in the room, like, Well, that is one way to look at otherkin, but I'm the dragon whose reason being that Pluto no longer exists, for I ate it in a different life. And that is why it is no longer a planet. And the entire room goes, yeah, that's a thing, but that's not really. Yes, for my mouth has spit around the balls of the universe. Upon swallowing it in all dimensions, it is gone. It has fed me. I am one with all. And I said, you eat your own parent. So,
I always love.
We talked about that one.
Who's here saw the persona or the documentary that they did on the furry fandom, the fandom?
So goddamn fat.
Wonderful, wonderful film, wonderful film. I ended up on the cutting room floor. They actually interviewed me. I ended up on the cutting room floor. No, Will, Ash did wonderful with that. I do think there's a reason I ended up on the cutting room floor, though. Because they were asking me questions, and they said, what about sex in the furry fandom? And I sat there for a moment, and I said, you interviewed Kage, right? And they said, yeah. And I said, I love Kage, and I understand why the position of don't talk to the media, and you don't say this, you don't say that. I watched it, I said, for the time period that those videos were made, that was very good advice. Here's the problem now. If somebody walks up to you and they say, isn't furry a sex thing? And you go, no, it's not about sex at all. By the end of it, they're going to have turned their phone around and shown you a picture of a horse fucking a wolf. And then they're going to say, what was that? And now you look like a liar. So here's my position on it. When they ask about the sex in the furry film, isn't furry a sex thing? For some people, yeah. For other people, no. It's a lot of different things, different people. If you ask 10 people what the furry fandom is, you're going to get 12 different answers. You can't really say it's any one certain thing. And when they ask again about the sex thing, say, listen, Tom, why are you really concerned about my cock? Number one, your interview will never air. Number two, you may make a new friend.
I have my own take on that these days. And again, there was a time when if your employer found out you were furry, you would lose your job, you could be thrown out of your house, you would lose volunteer positions. That's why I adopted the position I did, to protect people. It's not so necessary anymore, but it's still a bit of a touchy subject, no pun intended. When people say, isn't this all about sex? I am so goddamn tired of hearing it. My answer now is, look around you. Do you imagine any of these people has ever had sex?
It's all about sex. It's not all about sex. We do other things, unfortunately.
we raise money for charity. So what's your charity this week? Horse breeding.
I will say though, it is wonderful, and I think Fursquared does this perfectly, by the way, because there's that whole debate about should we have this or that. You can have both, okay? Not everybody has to be able to go to everything. You can have both. Fursquared does it wonderfully. After like 9 p.m., there's a watershed. Like before 9 p.m., okay, pretty much everything's on board. After 9 p.m., read the fucking panel description, maybe. I found this out because one of my children has brought their friend to their first ever furry convention. Woo! And they were sitting in the room this morning planning what panels and events they wanted to go to as I am putting the gel in my hair and preparing to come down and do performances. And I hear one of them say, oh, there's a panel about inflation. That's like balloons and stuff. Maybe we should go to that. And it was like the Secret Service agent taking a bullet for the president in the movie. As I slow motion leapt into their room of the hotel, so we go, no. Snatched the program away from them and threw it into the garbage as if it was on fire. And looked out and I said, that's not a panel you should be going to.
Which made them all the more determined to go to it, Dad.
Yep.
There was another panel on there, another panel, I was like, oh, what's this? this impact power panel. Like, no! And finally I said, look, what time are these panels? Like 10 or 11? I'm like, okay, anything after 9 o'clock, you need to read the description on first. And I have a question about this. There's a panel, again, at like 10 o'clock on a very niche subject.
What's that?
Hold on, I'll bring it up. I asked this because a couple years ago, there was a panel on a very niche subject, and I had asked about it, and then everybody got mad at me afterwards. Several years ago, at this convention, I sat on stage with the program in my hand and another lawyer with me in the middle of an afternoon, and I said, he was talking about furries, this, I said, look, I said, you hear a lot of different stuff at these conventions, and there's a lot of different, like, take this. There's an 11 p.m. panel on basic trigonometry. I said, how weird is that? How neat is that? And everybody got mad at me, and I didn't know why until after we got off stage, and they walked up and they said, dude, basic trigonometry is beer pong. We named it basic trigonometry so no one would come. That backfired because suddenly a lot of people got curious about basic trigonometry, went into the room, drank beer, and then began doing trigonometry. So this year, I would like to ask about field telephones with Fursquared, where they are discussing testing and getting military-grade field telephones working again from 10:30 to 11. Is this booze, or are there really military field telephone enthusiasts?
It's a fetish thing.
I think it's going to be both. It's a very good chance.
I just want to know.
One of the two guys for that panel right here.
We have somebody who's running that panel right here. Well, there's...
Stand up! Stand up! I have a question. Is it a sex thing?
Well, that's the time.
Hold on, I'm going to E621.
Everything is a sex thing if you own enough lube.
Everything's a dildo if you're brave.
All right. Okay, just remember Rule 34, right?
Exactly.
Do you know what you get when you look up Rule 34, Uncle Kage? Nothing.
Oh, come on. You're a cockroach. Half of that name is exactly what most of us want. Actually, roach too. Both sides of that name.
I would like to pose a question. Actually, not so much a question as a leading interrogatory.
Before you do that, we have two really quick things to summon.
Oh, yes?
Number one, I just want to remind everyone that this is a charity panel.
Oh, yeah, give us
If you
fucking
weren't
money.
If you weren't here for opening, don't forget, it is not required to give. If you can give, give, and if you can't give, don't worry about it. We are the furry fandom. It's taking
Somebody
care
take
of
this
us.
hat and go around.
Thank you for your
Seraphim,
support.
would you be good enough?
Coming at you, Seraphim.
He's a fursuiter. Oh,
He's
god
good.
damn.
He's
Whoa.
good.
Wow.
You are a professional. And one more thing, they were a little late to the panel. Ladies and gentlemen, both and neither, give it up for our fourth panelist, Lord Pandan! You're to the right, buddy.
Stage right. So, Mr. Badger.
Yes.
Skittles.
Okay, first of all, I do want to say, if you're not familiar with the Skittles thing, I'm not going to educate you. Secondly,
Yes, you are.
to those of you who have walked up to me this weekend, and it has occurred several times now, and said, you're the Skittles porn guy. Yeah, I guess I am.
You have to explain it now.
Skittles courted the furry fandom.
No, you started it.
No, I did
Admit it.
not. No, I did not. Skittles courted attention from the furry fandom, and everybody was being so calm with Skittles, and I looked at it and I said one nice thing about furries and got told to Google the cheese grater raccoon. Why is the Mars Company getting a fucking pass? So I started an art competition on who could draw the sexiest horseman fucking an anthropomorphic bag of Skittles. and I posted it on Twitter. The winning artist, by the way, won like over $600, and then over like $12,000 went to a charity to end child slave labor on cocoa plantations because fuck the Mars Corporation. But that's got nothing to do with me, because I just gave $5 and started that. What came into me is when we did the voting. The voting thread was up with over 40 pictures of strangely buff horsemen just absolutely railing a bag of Skittles for like 2 or 3 minutes. And then Twitter automatically marked my entire account as sensitive content.
Including?
For literally the past like 3 months, Twitter and I have been going back and forth on emails on whether or not they can just unmark me as sensitive content. They have informed me several times that they will not reverse their decision even after a manual review. I am to this day sensitive content on Twitter because of Skittles the fucking.
He posted a picture of an adorable kitten sleeping on the hearth, and they posted it as sensitive content.
Now the best part of this is like 3 days after I got marked as sensitive content, Twitter rolled out that feature where you can individually mark tweets and threads as sensitive content to avoid this.
Coincidence?
I'm pretty sure they did it just to fuck with me at this point.
No, I think you made it necessary.
So I guess what I'm saying is I really like an image of a strangely buff, muscular horseman just absolutely railing the Twitter bird.
Oh, God, you're making it worse!
I'm sorry. I'm improving Twitter.
Look, what bird isn't improved with something in its cloaca? That's not the point here!
This is Fursquared. Why are we not doing it to a bag of Culver's fries?
Oh no! Cheese curds!
Beast birds?
The special poutine.
The special cheese.
Oh, but careful, Ronnie is not here to defend his national honor. Oh, I'm sorry, we have Pendez. You can defend your national honor.
Oh, Pendez plans on defending their national honor. Pendez, would you like to tell them the message you sent me recently?
I sent you a message that read, and I believe, as follows. Dear Alkali, please be prepared to receive my written correspondence at the Fursquared Dropbox, a la the butter situation, due to the fact that there is no longer poutine served in the hotel lobby as it has been in years past. Concordantly, vis-a-vis, sincerely, me.
I'm going to murder you. This hotel is so good to us sometimes. Like, they try so hard to make sure everything's taken care of, to the point where this last weekend, like, oh, Dan, we know that sometimes you walk away from the convention and just need to get away where the smell of very pungent smoke won't bother a bunch of people. I'm like, yeah, you get me, okay, I'm in. What do you got? We've set up a tent for you.
Is that a tent we realized?
That is the tent we are in. They sent me a smoking tent up in the parking lot because I'm always complaining about bad weather. I'm like, I don't want to smoke inside your guys' hotel. I'm going to go outside and I come in soaked to the bone or missing 4 lighters because of the tornado that always exists in the Midwest, which I do not understand.
Why didn't they just set you up in Wisconsin Fine?
You leave that room alone!
I want to say that he took me out to the smoking tent last night, and as everybody's sitting there chatting, I go, I'm going to have a cigarette, and I'm looking around, because I got a bad hip, I got a bad knee, I don't stand too long, so I'm like, I'm going to find somewhere to sit, so I went over and sat down, and it took like 3 minutes after I lit the cigarette to realize I was sitting on top of a propane tank. Next to 2 other propane tanks. Next to an open can of mineral spirits. Next to 2 full 15-gallon cans of gasoline.
This is a Wile E.
All
Coyote
within
cartoon.
like 2 feet of me, smoking a cigarette. And I'm like, oh, this is a horrible idea.
When I tell you this hotel treats me like family, I mean it. They love me and they want me dead. Same thing.
Vandez, save us. Say something classy.
Vis-a-vis, concordantly, sincerely me. That's all I got.
Eric, the half of me.
I liked Panda's earlier on panel earlier with Ziggy's password. And the hint that was given to Pandez was the word hominid. And Pandez is quiet and goes, I don't know what that means. And I looked at him and I went, you're a medical professional. This is not comforting information.
Shall we explain it to him?
Yes, we should explain it to him.
Okay. Sometimes a boy loves another boy. And that's known as a hominid relationship.
Doesn't that make it so much clearer?
I don't.
Sometimes there are jokes that pop in your head. The moment they do, you're like, I can't say that.
I can't.
That's
not
not
my
a joke.
con.
That's not a joke I can tell.
Not my problem, not my con.
It is, it's kind of fun, this being, we normally don't tell stories about hotels and things that happen within a year or two, but sometimes they're funny, and sometimes they're just fine. It's just a thing that happened, and that's what happened this week. And if you didn't notice, if you're in opening ceremonies, I misplaced a room, an entire room.
It was here last year.
It was here last year.
It's gone.
The hotel changed the side closet and the Wisconsin 5 meeting room into another gym for the hotel. I send the same packet every year that I edit to tell the hotel the work order. Here's what we need, here's when we need it, here's what happens in every single room, without question. And I sent that in. And I arrive on site Wednesday. I'm wandering around the hotel and my liaison sends me a message. It wasn't, would you join me in the bar, which would have worked fine. I would have been there in a few minutes. She said, I have 3 drinks ready for you in the bar. So I was there like that. They love me. They know how to get a hold of me. So I show up at the bar, and she has 3 drinks lined up. And this is how well they know me. The first 2 are the concoctions they are serving to the furry fandom this weekend. It was the banana drink, which if you have not had it, tastes absolutely gorgeous. The front taste is so sweet and decadent and elegant, and everything behind it is just this wonderful warm feeling. You can't even taste the booze.
You're getting off on this, aren't you?
I love booze. And the second one is their version of a kitty cocktail, which as I sip it, I went, oh wow, there's like no booze in this. And the bartender just behind me, ha! I'm like, okay. And then as a chaser, she has a tall glass with just tequila in it. I'm like, yep, you guys get me. So we're sitting there, and she says, well, I need to talk to you about something. And I looked at her because an hour early, I'm in my car, and my director of dealers then, one of them, has messaged the group, hey, wasn't there a room here last year? With a picture of the work. Like, no! I forwarded to Dragon. Dragon said, no! So I sit down with her at the bar. She goes, there's something I need to tell you. I was like, what, are you missing a room? She goes, no! Yes. And they informed me that this room no longer exists. We are in FurCon. We are a convention that uses every feasible space in this hotel. And now we have a problem. We have no room for a major event space. We have no room for hospitality suite. So we start brainstorming, what can we do? And one of the answers that came up is, there is a room over on the side of this hotel that used to be a gift shop that has not been used for like 5 years. The ceiling is missing. There are TVs being stored in there. There are chairs that are so covered in dust that you think you're in an old horror movie. And she shows me the room and she's like, well, can we use this for anything? I'm like, murder scenes? Like, we'll figure it out. We've got this. But we're furries. No matter how long you run conventions for, no matter how important everything is, no matter how worried you are, at the end of the day, you are still kind, fun-loving furries. So the topic went from, oh my God, we're in a lot of trouble, we lost hospitality suite, to, oh my God, I want to use this room for something. Can we have Artemis in here? Can this be our club? Can you set up cots? We could have a sleepover. Where's my bar? This lasted for an hour until my hotel liaison said, hey, do we want to tackle the problem at hand? And Drager, who's now there with me, looks at them, looks at me, goes, no, someone else will deal with it. We're setting up Artemis in here. And then we showed it to the hotel. They loved it, and we got a hospitality suite. It all worked out.
I do want to point out what Alkali is described by the battery dead, but what Alkali is describing is very literally every con-chair's nightmare. All of us who have run a convention have had the dream where you walk into your hotel and where there is something that's supposed to be, it ain't there. And it actually happened. And I am just so beyond grateful that it happened to somebody other than me.
Yeah. And has that ever happened to, I mean, you've run IFC, you've run MCFC, I think you were a big part of FCN.
No, FCN I was just an attendee.
Or you, okay.
But I helped reform Motor City because
Okay, so you
when
were-
FCN closed down, we were like, no.
What about the hotel that was knocked down for a Target parking lot?
That's that gentleman. Yes.
It's one thing to walk down the hall and see, wait, the room is gone. It's another thing to say, wait, where's the hotel? Not that that's ever happened to any poor son of a bitch up on this stage.
Uncle Kage, did that happen to you?
Yes.
Uncle Kage, how did you find out? Did the hotel call you and tell you they were closing?
No, it was 10 p.m. on November 30th, 2004. Why do I remember that?
Why do you remember that?
When my phone rang, first off, don't fucking call me. I don't talk on the phone. My phone rang, it was this random voice. Oh, dude, what's this? They're going to tear down the hotel? I'm like, okay, look, I'm a busy man, you son of a bitch. Don't ever fucking call me again. And I slammed the phone down. I do this to my mom. Don't call me. 2 minutes later, the phone rang and it's a different voice. Say, Uncle Kage, what's this? They're going to tear down the Annismark Hotel? And I started to get that feeling like you swallowed a cat. You know that feeling? No. And I went and I turned on the news and they're talking about the Philadelphia Flyers or some kind of shit like that. And there was nothing on it, so I thought, well, okay, this is 2004. I went to Furry IRC. We had that back then. Yes. We went to Furry IRC, and I will go on there, and I will look for somebody I know, and they will perhaps have some information for me. I logged on to the Furry IRC, and right away the screen said... I just logged off, shut the computer down, and went to bed. I woke up the next day, and the first thing I did was I called my hotel contact, and I said, hey, what's going on? And he said, yep, that's it. They had a meeting yesterday, called us all in and said, that's it, we're shutting the hotel down. They've sold it to Target Corporation. They're going to bulldoze it and build a Target here. I said, you can't do that to me. I got a contract. And he said, good for you. I don't have a job. Okay, so I kind of felt a little bit.
Yeah, you got to lose that one.
So I called Annismark Corporation. This is why I learned that lawyers actually are somewhat useful at times. had I known that lawyers were not just useless wastes of oxygen, I would have, had I known at the time, I would have asked one to look over the contract. Because the contract said, if Anthrocon doesn't have their convention, we own you and you will give us lots of money. There was nothing in there that said the hotel had to give us a hotel. Nobody told me that had to be in there.
Yeah, you know who would have told you that? A lawyer. Who would have thought that a PhD in chemistry does not qualify you to do contract interpretation?
There were no furry lawyers back then.
Yeah, well, you know what happens if you don't have a furry lawyer? You get a regular lawyer.
But you have to pay these people.
You pay me!
I pay you in ham.
You get ham!
You gave me steak.
I thought he gave you put. Never mind. I'm not gonna do it.
Is ham or Canadian bacon?
It's ham. It is country ham. As a matter of fact, I actually get messages from Kage that read, "Son, I owe you another ham."
Is that supposed to be me?
And it's,
Well, no, it's supposed to be the ham. Wait.
Son, I owe you another meat. My boy, you see, nobody messes with Uncle Kage.
Yes, I do not sound like that.
I'm seeing it in the audience right now. Like they're out there. Yeah, don't worry, your secret's safe with me. You see, I'm not 1,000, so my eyes work better than his.
Who's he talking to?
The one in the mask.
Oh my God.
That's why you're between us.
Yeah, no shit.
I joke a lot, but I will tell you, Kage is the only con chair that has been smart enough to make sure one of the convention's lawyers is on site during the event. I have shown up at Anthrocon, checked into my room, and immediately gotten a message from this gentleman down there saying, "Did you arrive okay?" "Yes." "Are you unpacked?" "Yes." "Okay, so here's the contracts the suppliers dropped off this morning. I'd like you to review them and meet me in the lobby in 10 minutes with a memorandum on the meaning of the clauses."
A good scientist learns from his experiments.
That's right.
I don't know how I feel about being referred to as an experiment.
Boozy, do you
It
remember how
could be
you
worse.
joined the
It
fandom?
could be worse. Did I ever tell you why my parents put my high school yearbook?
No.
My parents took out a half-page ad that read, "Surprises are good things, gifts from God. You are our heavenly gift, our little surprise." And I got home, and my parents could not understand why I was so upset until I opened the yearbook to the half page, slid it to my dad, and said, "You all realize that you just told my entire graduating class that I was the oopsie fuck."
They were gonna find out one way or another.
I mean,
So were you the oopsie fuck?
yes, I was. As a matter of fact, the way my mother told my dad that she was pregnant with me. My father was working for a very, very, very well-heeled law firm in the South at the time, and was on the partner track. And my mother went to his office and take the ultrasound picture to his door and left.
Oh dear.
The legal community of Louisville, Kentucky still talks about the volume of his "well, fuck" when we got back to the office that day.
I appreciate the weird ways our parents have of dealing with situations. I found out when I was much older that my father informed my mother that the dog they had had since they were married at the age of 19 had passed away by putting out on the table a rocks glass, a bottle of SoCo, and then leaving the house for the night. That was to inform my mother of the dog. There was no note. There was nothing other than Soko, glass, lack of dog, lack of husband. She put it all together, and he came home and the new dog was already there. Because when you mess with my mom, she messes back.
Mendez, please say something classy. This is going downhill quickly.
Vis-a-vis, cordially.
Well, give us something Canadian. I don't know, be polite.
Vis-a-vis, eh?
I need a vis-a-vis to work in the States because I'm Canadian. It's a work vis-a-vis. Can you just tell me to say things?
You can just tell me.
Don't just tell me to say things. How dare you?
You're a comic.
You want?
You're a con chair. That's all we do is get told to say things. That's like half your job.
Incidentally, as most people here, in fact probably all people here, are familiar with the venerable butter situation story. What you may not know is that I asked Alkali once, my colleague, what was the name of the person who wrote that letter? And he very, very politely and deferentially said, well, I'm not really at liberty to go into those details. And I said, was it this? And he said, I said, that's all I need to know. I've gotten letters from him too. This is the guy that when in my story hour, I made some comment. I don't even remember. I think I made some off-color comment about unions. Because this is back in Philadelphia. I hadn't met the unions in Pittsburgh who are actually honest, unlike the ones in Philadelphia who are crooks. This guy wrote a 3-page letter of complaint about my attitude and sent it to my mother. And that's why when I said, was it this? Yeah. As soon as I heard that butter situation, Alkali's telling it, and I said, I know exactly who that is. Vis-a-vis.
It's the cadence. You can always tell the gentleman's cadence. Because that's the great story. The butter situation is the one. But that was not the only note. These notes have been happening for years. It's almost like watching The Simpsons. I'm just waiting for fridge too loud. Once I see that in the subject line of an email, he's back. I've missed him. We do have a lot of cards that come to these conventions, and I do appreciate it because everyone's got their own personality, and that's the beauty of Furry. We're a mixing pot of insanity that just kind of works. But some of the complaints, as a con chair, who all we want, and we know it's not possible, but there's the goal. You want everyone to have a good time. No, you want everyone to have a great... No, you want everyone to have the time of their lives. And this is going to be their weekend. And when you receive an email on Elevator C had the tendency to skip past the 3rd floor by a good 3 centimeters. I know it sounds small, but it was very obvious from anyone in the elevator, all of whom gasped at the same time. Inhalation is a scary thing. Oh, come on!
And that's the thing. Okay. What are we doing? We are just trying to give you a fun weekend.
I have a solution.
What? Murder.
Boozy's response service. You forward me the emails and I will respond on behalf of your organizations how you want to, because we have a chat.
That sounds suspiciously like volunteering.
We have a chat. And in that chat, when things happen in the furry fandom and you're wondering why maybe Kage or Alkali or Pandas are not making commentary on it, there's a reason. The reason is they are con chairs. They are representatives of their conventions. They have a tendency to forget I am in the chat when they are talking about these things, because they say, I really want to say something about X thing that's happening, but I can't because I have a con and I don't want it to reflect on the con. And then after 5 or 10 minutes of this, I show up in the chat and type all in capital letters, "I don't have a cod!" And off I go as they scream at me to stop. So,
No, we do not scream at you to stop. I remind you, as your finance director, you do have a cod!
that doesn't count. Basement Con is the stated purpose of being the worst convention ever. Let it be said now. I don't give a fuck about your feedback at Basement Con. If you're angry, we're doing it right.
I buy your insurance!
However, it is
On that note,
it is my suggestion you all forward me your emails on the 3 centimeters. The elevator stopped 3 centimeters short of the 3rd floor. There was a noticeable discrepancy. We intend to know what you plan to do to fix this. Dear sir, Anthrocon has forwarded me your email with the serious complaint about the situation on the elevators. I would like to assure you we take it very seriously that the alignment was 3 centimeters off. This was clearly an error. We had hoped the cables would fucking snap. Feel free to come back and play Death Roulette next year at Pittsburgh. We're having a block party.
I am thinking.
Sincerely, vis-a-vis concordantly.
I'm thinking specifically of a long ago Anthrocon when one guy complained bitterly that his entire convention experience had been ruined because his badge kept flipping backwards. And I was literally crying on the shoulder of my colleague Sven, who is the chairman of Eurofurence in Germany. I said, this guy, his badge kept flipping. That was the worst thing that happened. His badge kept flipping backwards. And what the hell am I supposed to do? And he said, well, we print our badges on both sides. I'm like, yes. This is why you lost the fucking war.
Ladies and gentlemen, both and neither, this has been Monkey Knife Fight! This has been a comedy better when I've had a few! Same panels, different participants, leave me alone. Give it up for Lord Pandas! The Boozy Badger! Uncle Kage! My name is Elfly. Enjoy the convention. Have a wonderful time. Don't forget, you get what you get out of a convention, and all of you came to this panel. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the charity. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and good night.
Silver Gatoman, he bought me a coffee. Silver Gatoman, here is the song for thee. He likes to video all the panels at the cons. You should go and watch them whether they are short or long. Silver Gatoman, you video that's not a jibe. All of you go to his YouTube channel and like and subscribe.